Welcome back, everyone. One of the questions I am most often asked is, when are the holidays this year? And it doesn't matter which holiday it is, people are asking, when are the holidays? The reason we're asking that is because the Jewish calendar is offset from the solar calendar, but not completely. So here's a brief discussion on how the Jewish calendar is constructed. One of the things that makes it easy is that you can pick up a free Jewish calendar from just about any funeral home, and it makes it easy to find out when the holidays are. But let me give you a little idea of how the calendar is constructed. So we know that a solar calendar is 365 days, and if you want to be technical, it's 365 and a quarter days. But the Hebrew calendar is 354 days. So therefore, because the lunar calendar, which is what the Jewish holidays go by, is 354 days generally. Sometimes it's 353 and sometimes it's 355. But that's a little more than we need to know at this point. The calendar 354, so the lunar calendar, the lunar year is 11 days, 11 days shorter than a solar year. So if we follow that calendar strictly, then we could have Passover ending up in the middle of January. We could have Rosh Hashanah in the middle of June, if we just left it to that. The law is in the Torah that Passover must occur in the spring. It is actually called Chag HaAviv, the spring festival. So therefore, adjustments need to be made in the Jewish calendar so that Passover will always end up in the spring, after the vernal equinox. So what happens is, first off, the Jewish calendar essentially is on a 19-year cycle, and 7 times in that 19 years we have a leap year. The leap year adds an extra month. So for instance, this year, Passover is April 1st. Clearly after the vernal equinox. Next year, Passover is April 22nd, I believe. So how does it end up that it's 21 days later? And that's because of the addition of an extra month just before the month where Passover occurs. Again, we add an extra month just before the month where Passover occurs. So this is how the adjustment is made so that the Jewish calendar allows us or ensures us that Passover is in the spring. So here we go. There are 12 months, and the first month of the calendar year is the month of Tishrei, when we celebrate and observe Rosh Hashanah, the new year. Interestingly enough, this coming week we observe a second new year, the new year of the trees, called Tu B'Shvat. The 15th of the month of Shvat is essentially the Jewish Arbor Day, and this holiday celebrates the return or the beginning of the preparations for spring. Passover, again, occurs in the first month of the Torah year. The holiday of Passover is described this way in the Torah. On the 15th day of the first month shall be a festival of matzah. That's how it's described. We're given the commandment to eat matzah. We're given the commandment to observe the festival. And this is by the Torah year, the first month. So now we have the first month of the calendar year. This past Rosh Hashanah, we celebrated the year 5786. Next year on Rosh Hashanah will be 5787. Passover is the first month of the Torah year, and so we begin the cycle of seasons with Passover in the month of Nisan, the first month of the Torah year. We then observe Shavuot, the Feast of Weeks, 7 weeks later in the Hebrew month, the Jewish month of Sivan, and then we go through the cycle of the calendar, as I mentioned previously. So this is how we keep Passover in the spring and keep the order of the holidays so that each holiday falls in its appropriate time period, with Rosh Hashanah sometime during the fall, Hanukkah during the winter, Purim during late winter, early spring, Passover in the spring, Shavuot, the Feast of Weeks, in the summer months, and late spring, early summer, and then we repeat the cycle over again. Of course, there are other holidays we observe, and that will be in another session. But this is how the calendar is constructed. We observe what is called a synodic month, from new moon to new moon. The new moon is the beginning of the month. The full moon is the middle of the month. So many of our holidays fall on the full moon. As I mentioned, Tu B'Shvat, which comes up this coming week, falls on the 15th of the Hebrew month of Shavat. It is the full moon. Passover occurs on the full moon of the month of Nisan. Excuse me. Sukkot, the third pilgrimage festival, the Feast of Tabernacles, occurs 2 weeks after Rosh Hashanah, and again on the full moon. Obviously, if Rosh Hashanah is the new moon, the beginning of the new year, then 15 days later, the full moon is when we celebrate the Feast of Tabernacles, the holiday of Sukkot. So we see that this follows most of our major holidays. In our next session, I'm going to talk about all the festivals that occurred during our yearly cycle and give a brief description of each and how they fit in with the time period in which they're involved. So hopefully this gives you some insight in the Jewish calendar, how it's constructed, and why we can have Thanksgiving, as we did about 8 years ago, and then we can have the New Year, Rosh Hashanah, falling during Labor Day, which it did a few years ago. I hope this was helpful. Please let me know if you have any comments, and we'll explore the calendar a little further in our next session. Thanks. Enjoy your day.